Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
That's what a wonderful moment in time this is for me. To be here with you and having been asked to present a message, it's giving me an opportunity to bring forth and at the same time share with others. One, the fact that I totally understand anything and everything you have been through during this pandemic. And the reason is not because I'm all ministerish. Okay, and I get, because I'm a minister, yeah. I went through it with you. Even though I had all of these processes and gifts and concepts and training and so forth, the isolation was so heavy for me. I don't know, you all realize I'm a social person, right? Oh, okay. And I love being with people, and I love having fun with others, and love having people over and going places. I couldn't do that. And I was praying and reading scripture and even making attempts to do my next book, and I wasn't even able to do that. It was so hard. But I found myself, because I lived by myself, and I found myself at times, days, when I had to crawl out of the bed. The air, the energy around, the energy, not just in my house, but I could feel so many things and so many people. And there was a heaviness. There was a dark cloud hanging over me. And I'm one of the most joyful people. I couldn't find that joy. And finally, one day I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. I said, God, you got to tell me something. Give me some guidance, kick me, pinch me, something. I've got to find a way out of this because, my beloveds, I had never, ever wanted to kill myself in my entire life, and I was just on the edge of having some of those kinds of thoughts. Fortunately, I knew how to bring myself away from that, but I still couldn't pick myself up off the floor, not literally, but emotionally. I couldn't pull myself up off the floor to function. I just felt empty, and I felt weighed down. Did anybody else in here have any of that? Yes. And I knew that it wasn't just me because I could feel so many people at the same time. It's wonderful being empathic, but not when there's a pandemic. Okay? Not when people are enraged, not when people are so sad, and you could feel it. And I kept trying, I kept pulling myself up and pulling myself up. And I said, I've got to find a way through this. I'm not trying to keep from the experience, because with every experience we evolve to another level, and we also have something within us that we can show and support others in going through their deepest, darkest most troublesome times. So I don't try to keep from experiencing it. I just don't like to stay in it. And so I realized, Sheila, you got to get yourself out of this. You got to find a way out. And there's a song that I love so much, I started singing it, I'll Walk with God. And every day I sang that song. And I began to imagine that I was walking. If I went to the kitchen, the restroom, or just to the front door, I was walking with God. And it began to remind me of something that I learned a long time ago. I and I. The I am and I and I. The letter I, lowercase n, and the uppercase I and I. And I said, that's what I need. That's what's going to pull me through this. I had to begin to create the consciousness of the fact that I was with I and I, even when I was down on the floor. I was I and I was not alone, but I had to keep reminding myself that I was not alone. Anybody else had that? Maybe not, maybe just me, but there were people who calling me, friends, family. People were in this deep, dark abyss. And so I began to imagine that I was functioning every moment of every day with God, with the I am. I began to speak of I, and I began to sing, I'll Walk with God. Sometimes, my beloveds, I had to sing it 4 or 5 times a day before it began to take root and began to open up my heart and take away some of the heaviness. But I kept doing that. And I imagined everything that I was doing in the aspect of I and I. That no matter what it felt like at times, I could never, ever, ever be alone. I just needed to keep reminding myself. And every time I would turn the TV on, people were shooting at each other. There was so much rage, there was so much anger, and I just kept saying, I and I walk together. I walk with God. I am never alone. And I would look at that TV and I would say, and so do you. You are not alone. You can let go of the rage. You can let go of the fear. You can let go of the anger, because you are never alone. You walk with God even when you don't realize it, because it's impossible not to walk with God, because I am in God and God is in me. And I had to keep telling myself day after day after day. Ultimately, after a couple of months, I began to be able to go through a day or two and not feel, I wish I could describe that heaviness, but any of you who ever experience it, you know what I'm talking about. And I got to the point where there were times when I didn't, and so I said, I'm going to keep this up. I'm going to keep singing that song. I'm going to keep relating to I and I. And I'm going to begin every day, I'm going to call 10 people, 10 different people each day, to tell them, you are not alone. I am with you. I and I are with you. And in this day, allow yourself to open your heart to know that you never walk alone, that you're walking with God. And I had to keep doing it. I couldn't afford to skip a day and not do those processes, because being empathic, I could feel the pain in the air. Everything felt so heavy. It felt so heavy. And so my journey had to be facilitated. And so don't think just because some of us are ministers that each day we wake up and I got it like that. I'm okay. Because I am God. No, we're still in this human frame. And we're still susceptible to energy. And if you're empathic, it's, whoa. You're feeling the cloud that's hanging over the earth, the cloud that's hanging over our nation, our world, the cloud that's hanging over all of our brothers and sisters who are struggling just to stay upright, moment by moment. So I just decided I had to walk with God. I had to walk with God. And so what I did was I chose the song and I sang it sometimes 5, 6 times a day. I can remember maybe singing it 10 times a day. I chose love. And I said, no matter what, I am going to give love to others, and I'm going to allow God's love to flow into me and to give me a respite from this heaviness that I may offer it to others. And the more I did that, the lighter it got. Where I could actually get up some days and feel joy and feel love and feel happiness. And I had a birthday during this time. And I really wanted to enjoy my birthday. I love my birthday. I do. And I got a text. No, it was an email from a friend. And she said, I have a joke for you. And I said to myself, oh God, let's see what this is. And it said, a little boy had been to Sunday school with his grandmother. And he said to his grandmother, Grandma, how old are you? And Grandma said, 39 and holding. And he thought for a moment. And he said, well, how old will you be if you let go? And I laughed so hard when I read that joke. It was wonderful. And a sparkle began to happen. And I began to feel like I can get up. I can get up. Because I am I. I'm not alone. I'm not walking alone. And none of us are walking alone. However, there are many people who don't realize they're never alone. Because I felt like I was alone, and I know I'm not alone. So I understood the people who were raging and shooting and screaming and creating all kind of havoc in their lives and the lives of others. I said, I've got to do my part. And so every day I did the I and I process. And what I did was I sang, I'll walk with God. Sang it once or twice, sometimes 3 times, until I felt still. And I began to hold the space and open my heart and bring the energy from the center of my head from the crown chakra, allowing it to pour into me deeply, pouring in and awakening. There was something that would awaken when I started doing it. Something would awaken right here, and it felt like I was glowing, like tingling. It was amazing. And I would send that out to bless others, and I would call at least 10 people a day to tell them I love them and that they were not alone. So the first step in this was to go ahead and to admit what I felt. My beloveds, if you feel down, if you feel angry, if you feel hurt, go ahead and own the feeling. Don't try to deny it, because a suppressed feeling can have no healing. So you open it up and remember, God and I are one. 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 I'll feel this, but it will not tear me down. It will not destroy me. It will not cause me to want to kill myself or something of that nature, because God and I are one. 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 And I kept that up. And week by week, I began to feel better. And so holding that, bringing that in, calling others every day, telling them I love them, that I'm praying with them, and I'm knowing that they are feeling the presence and the power of God in their lives right now, no matter what's happening out there. And I allowed myself to know that even though I had been down here, way down here, that I could go back up. And maybe I was halfway there. Maybe I was a little further. But I continued it and discovered some others, friends of mine and relatives who were going through that. So I would do the process of the song and the I and I, and remembering all day long that I walked with God. It was I and I, not me by myself, I and I. We were taking this journey together. No, couldn't see him, but I knew it, because something was awakening. I felt lighter, I felt stronger, and I felt like I could now step out and I could be in this heaviness without allowing it to bring me down to the floor. And so I began recognizing I and I together as one. I began singing, I'll Walk with God. Later, I didn't have to sing it 5, 6, 7 times a day, but every day I sang it. And every day I reached out to others, because giving and receiving are the same thing. And every day I gave thanks. I expressed my gratitude to God for awakening this in me, that heaviness, so that I could go through the process of healing it, of clearing it, and remembering who I am and whose I am. And therefore be able to share with others who were going through the same thing. And so it was a blessing, my beloveds. It was a blessing. Didn't feel so good, but it was a blessing. And I let myself be grateful. And I began to share with anyone who was going through it. Here's a process I have used. I offer it to you. And call me if you're struggling, because I'll walk with you. We are in this particular situation not just to suffer. There's a purpose to all of this. Because before this pandemic happened, we were on the road to breakdown. You see, the rage and so forth didn't start just when the pandemic started. It actually started before. And it facilitated more rage and more rage and more rage. And breakdown always precedes breakthrough. And so it all had to break down so that we could see that we did not want to remain in this state forever. That we could come up out of it, that I were always a package deal. And that as long as I held that within my being, I didn't have to get back down there and lay on the floor. I didn't have to stay in bed for 3 days crying and feeling like I was worthless and that nobody cared and that I would never come out of this. I just had to remember who I was and whose I was. That was the key. That was the key that opened the doorway for me to return to this love, this joy, this belief and knowing, ultimately knowing that we are moving forward to something greater than we have ever moved toward in our lives. That breakdown precedes breakthrough. And as we have gone through this heavy, heavy, heavy challenge, we have all been transformed. We have all learned something. And we all now have some kinds of skills that we can use in building this new kingdom that we are laying the foundation for right now. And so I just wanted to share this with you because I know some of you have been through this. And I know how hard it is. And just because I'm a minister, trust me, I'm not afraid to say that I went through it. It made me stronger. It gave me more wisdom. It gave me more insight. And so if you know anyone who's going through that, help them return to the way they were with God before the world was. And that is that one, that divine one, because we cannot be anything but the one. And if you need to call me to help someone who is in that, call me up. Call me. I'll give you my number if there is someone who is going through it. I know how to do it now. And I'm glad I experienced it. I didn't like it, but I'm glad I experienced it because now I can help someone else who's down there. And so I'm grateful for Karen and Jean Marie and Michael giving me an opportunity to speak to you tonight. To tell you, I understand. I do. I understand. And I'm here for you. I'm here for whoever else there is. I did it once, and I think I can do it again. I don't want to do it again, but I can do it again. I can help someone else get through it. So I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. I behold the Christ in you. And so I just take this moment to say thank you, God. Thank you, God, for that heavy, heavy experience. I would not have had it otherwise. And thank you for allowing me to go forward and be available for others. In the name and after the loving nature of our elder brother Wayshaw and master teacher Jesus the Christ, and the Christ within us all. And we say amen and amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Sheila. That was a very powerful lesson and a very beautiful story for, using a depth of loss and a depth of feeling and using your overcoming as a way forward for others as well. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know many of us can identify with that. At different parts of our life, and maybe, as you say, even these last 2 years, it's been difficult in lots of ways. So thank you so much for witnessing and sharing. So beautiful. Yeah. This is the time in our service where we do a spiritual dialogue, and we thought we would go a little in the direction of being prepared this evening with, in light of the fact that we are in Thanksgiving Eve this evening, to share what we are each thankful for and grateful for. And we just wanted to share our light and love. So does anybody feel ready to jump in there?
Well, I'll share.
Okay.
What's on my mind tonight is that my mom's coming in the morning from Florida to be with us for Thanksgiving, and thinking about just the long trajectory of our relationship, like since the beginning. We've been together, and how my mom, when my parents separated, that it was just her and I. There were 4 years where it was her and I, and she was working 2 jobs, and how she dealt with a teenage girl and all the other things she must have been going through. And she just has so much strength and love. And to see how we're both on this healing journey of kind of healing from that separation and divorce, and together. And just so grateful, even though that was really hard, that just the love that we've had that has endured and kept us together through all that. And my mom's my biggest fan, so I'm just so grateful for her. I'm glad she's going to be here. I can see her soon.
I love your mom. I had Jean Marie and David and Ann at my house for Thanksgiving one year, and she thinks I'm a good cook. So I'm glad that you're going to get that time with her, and I'm glad I'm going to get to see her on Sunday. Family, I'll stick with that theme. Many of you know I have a little girl in my life who calls me daddy, and she's not my biological daughter or my legal daughter, but I am her daddy, and she is my daughter. And I have been in her life since day 2 that I held her in my arms when she was a month early, 4 pounds, at the NICU at a hospital in Austin, and she's mine. And haven't gotten to see her as much through the pandemic, and it's been hard, and now the moms are separated. They've separated. It is hard on kids, and she's 10. She just turned 10 last Sunday. And they're here for a week, one of the moms, and Micah. And I was telling Karen before the service, it's like something got hooked up in me again that had somehow gotten unwired around playfulness. This kid is hilarious. The things she says, I won't even tell you some of them, but it has to do with, no, I can't. It's still church. Just the ideas that come into her mind, and the things that catch her attention. And I just find myself back in that life is meant to be fun and playful, and we're meant to just, and I'll tell you, it hasn't all been easy. I forgot to feed her today. I was working on, because I was working today and had a couple of meetings, and and other things and emails, and I was trying to get all my prep done, the pumpkin pie and the dinner rolls and the cornbread for my dressing. I was doing all that, and then it was like, oh my gosh, it's 2 o'clock, she hasn't eaten. And then meltdown, just absolute meltdown, because we had tried to limit the screen time. And then I just, a lot of tears, a lot of anger, slamming doors, and then it was over. And I was thinking, how often have I just, as an adult, stewed, resented, held on to something? Like 45 minutes later, she was brand new, especially once we got some food in her. And we went to the restaurant she wanted to go to. But that's what I'm grateful for, is for this little girl and the lessons that I'm learning this week with her about basic, trusting, playful nature that is still inside.
Would you like to share? Yes. I'm grateful for everything right now. I'm grateful for right now, this moment, because it feels so good right here with all of you. And I'm grateful to be out of the abyss. And I'm grateful that something phenomenal is awakening in my life, even though I went through HE double hockey sticks. Yeah. But I'm grateful for everything now, Karen. Everything, just everything. Yeah.
Well, I think what I drew from your talk, and also Michael, what you were just saying about process. How I can hold on to things too, or just kind of like let stories run in my head. And I forget that the key to everything, and I think you said this also in your talk, the key to everything really is getting back to the love. However, and it's not a mental concept. It's not think love. It's actually feel love. It's like breathe love. It's, and I practiced it this week. In particular, when I woke up and realized that's what I was doing, I was holding out the love. I was choosing not love. I was choosing to keep a door shut, and I just chanted it. I just went everywhere that I took a step. I just, under my breath, just chanted it over and over again till I could feel it again and feel that movement of love. It is so incredible to me. That's what I'm feeling grateful for. And ironically, love is the actual, I would say, the ground out of which gratitude arises. So what exactly we're about to do is to just practice love by saying thank you and appreciating and being in the company of those we love and those whom we may need to practice loving. However it is that, and whoever it is that you're going to be with this weekend, just know that the takeaway can be that we practice this love that comes through us, and so we're always rooted in it, and it's always nourishing us, and I think it stops all the temper tantrums, doesn't it? It's a nourishment for that.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.